Hello, welcome to our April webinar of Dr. Jaspersoft. I'm your host, Paul Jimenez. Today I have one guest speaker for you. His name is Prasant, and today we'll be talking about fortifying your data, mastering domain security files in JasperReports Server. We just have a quick disclaimer. And then the next Dr. Jaspersoft session is the second Thursday of every month. The next one will be May 8th, and that will be about the HTML Pro component. So today's agenda will be an introduction to domain security, end users and role specific requirements, security configuration Jaspersoft, and then a live demo. So thank you everyone for joining. Please let us know if you have any questions, and then I'll go ahead and hand it off to Prasant. Thank you, Prasant.
Thanks, Paul. So I'll share my screen now. Hi, everyone. So today's meeting is about domain security. And as Paul mentioned, we will just go through all these, the introduction to domain security, end users and role specific requirements, security configuration in Jasper, and demo as well. So what exactly is domain security? I would say once legend says that with great power comes great responsibility, right? So with a lot of data comes a lot of, I would say, security requirements for Jasper admins. So we are here to ease it up a bit. So you have two kinds of security. We have row level security and column level security. So I'll speak about these scenarios a bit later, but I'll first go to the next slide and we'll tell a real case scenario. So let's take my case. So I work as a customer success architect in Europe. We have three members who are architects, and we report to a manager who is based out of in Europe. And we also have three members in US, and they report to a US manager. And we created a particular domain, and this particular domain can, all the data which is pertaining to us, probably the work which we are doing, or our probably the bank statements or all the information. Consider that all the informations are in the database. Okay. So from domain perspective, you could create a domain which has all this information, and you create one particular ad hoc view. Now, if I log in to Jasper and view that particular report, I should only see my specific information, right? And if my manager, who is located in Europe, if he executes that particular report, he should see all the architects who are reporting to him based out of Europe, and he shouldn't see any of the architects who are based out of in the US, correct? And vice versa as well. And probably in that, consider that in the very same ad hoc view, it also has my license details and probably social security number, bank account details. So those kind of information, even my manager shouldn't see, right? So that, so yeah. So I just briefly mentioned about row level security and column level security. Here I'll discuss that. I'll go back to this slide. So I mentioned about a scenario where I should see my records, and if my manager logs in, he should see only uh, the architects who are reporting to him out of Europe. He should only see those data, right? So that is nothing but row level security. But if my manager logs in and if he is executing the report, he shouldn't see any information which is specific to my PII, probably my bank detail or my license information. Those are restricted for him as well, right? So there comes the power of column level security. So the good part is you could just create a single ad hoc view, and you can fine tune it to or adjust it to make sure that what kind of data is shown to what kind of user. So you could tag a user role to the role of security, and you could also tag a profile attribute to a particular security part. So we will go through that in detail. So I'll go back. So as you know, if you do these, you can have more control of data. So you are making sure that the user who logs in only sees the data which he is entitled to see, right? So this provides an enhanced security and reduced risk. It obviously provides a regulatory compliance and data governance as well. So let's go to the next slide. yeah, this is what I mentioned. So if I'm an employee, I can only see my basic information and identification details. So I just created a sample. Maybe I'll just go here, and I just created some database tables for today's demo. So I have like around 5 or 6 tables which I created, which has basic information, clocking information, identification information. So if I execute some of these tables, I mean, the basic information just have employee ID, name, address, country, email, and then country code. Identification has something more. So this is kind of a table where the foreign key is EMP ID, and yeah, it has identification and type and identification value. Okay, let's go back to our slide. So as I mentioned that, I mean, as I mentioned, I could only see my basic information and identification details. I shouldn't see any other customer architects details here. But again, if my project manager is logging in, so he should see all the employee data in their specific region. So for example, if my manager should only see the details of the employees which belong to Europe, he shouldn't see any sensitive information like payroll or clocking data, for example. And again, the identification type probably are visible, but not the actual values. So we will see how to do this. And also HR has access to everything. So HR managers should be able to see all the data. So we are just creating 3 type of users and see how to do this. So you can do the same setup for your environment as well. So this is what we are going to do today. We will go through the configuration. So we'll see how to set up a domain security role which is the domain, and we will walk through as a login of different role users. Probably first I will make some changes to the security uh, rules, and then I will show you how it works. And so I think there are almost like 6 or 7 different scenarios where I will test today. So yeah, these are the scenarios which we will cover today. So whenever you think of implement a particular security, it's a good practice to actually write it down and see what all roles can see what all things, right? So here, as you can see, I have some payroll information, so I'm restricting that to be viewed only by the demo HR role or user who has this demo HR user role. Similarly, the employee information, this is a basic information. So that can only be seen by the user. For example, I can only see my details. If the project manager logs in, he should be able to see all the employees information filtered by the country code. In other words, he should see all the employees who belong to that particular country, and so on. So I also created a database view just to show you that that also works. Then the last step is for column level security. So this is the theory part. Now let's go to the fun part where we will do the demo. And yeah, let's go with the testing. So before jumping into the security groups and all, I'll just show you what I have done so far. So here I have created a domain, and here you can see I have around 3 employees and 1 demo HR and 3 or 4 manager roles which I created here. So the project manager, I created a role called demo project manager, and I added a profile attribute here. I'll go back to the users once again. So if I click on demo manager 2, so I just created a role called demo project manager, and I also created a attribute called country and country code as well. So Canada is 1002 and US is 1001. I just created some dummy values. And for employees also, I created a demo employee role, and I can specify the employee ID here. Normally, if you are setting up SSO, uh, you will have an IDP where you will capture your employee ID there. So you could effectively send that employee ID as a profile attribute to Jasper, and you can even hide it as well. You can encrypt this as well. So yeah, let's go back to our domain. So this is the domain which I created, demo employee domain, and this has 3 join trees. So this is nothing but, I would say, there is a data island. So these are three distinct set of joins. So the join 3.1 has the basic information and employee information. I have joined this based on the employee ID key, and the join tree 3 is nothing but the personally identified. I mean, I would say PII information. For example, the payroll or clocking information, the bank details, and all those informations. So this is join tree 3, and we also have a view which I created in the database. So I'll show that view as well before we start. So if I scroll down, let's see where is our, yeah, there is a view. And if I just open this and go to the code, so this is just a simple select query, and I provided something. I hard coded a view as source. So if I execute this view, it will return a view of that employee basic information. Okay, now let's go back to our domain. So whenever you wanted to implement a security, the first thing which you want to do is to go to the security tab. So I'll just delete everything from this. So your security, I mean, normally it will look like this. And if you wanted to create security, you can click on this snippet simple. So Jasper will create a basic template of the security.xml file. So we'll just uh, remove all the spaces and make it a bit more visually appealing. Let's remove all these things. Okay, so I'll remove this part as well. This is the part where we will do the, or this is for the column level security part. Okay, so we will cover this at the very end. So for now, I'm just removing this. So what exactly is this? So we will okay. So it look pretty good now. So this is for the row level security. So this entire section, I would say. Okay, so always make sure that you specify a dummy. I mean, probably you can specify a unique value here. So normally I always provide it as rule 1 or so. So I can put it as rule 1. And the first rule which we are going to implement is this. So it's a good practice to properly label each of these rules, because if your domain is so complex at the end, like if you have so many rules, labeling definitely helps. So this particular requirement is, or I'm going to write a logic to handle this. So the logic is that I'm writing a rule to restrict access to demo employee and demo project manager to employee payroll information. So what does it mean? So if I'm logging in as a demo employee or a demo project manager, I should not see uh, this join tree 3, right? So for that, what should you do? So the basic thing is that you have to specify that this particular join tree 3. So if I open this join tree 3, you should see this ID, right? So this is the ID which we wanted to apply this rule, or where we wanted to apply this rule, right? So I'll put that join tree 3 here. And now let's copy this logic. So I'm just copy pasting this. I'm grants. Okay. So again, I'm going to tell that this is a specific rule, and I'm providing an HR access rule 1. This is again a dummy unique value. So you have to always make sure that the IDs are always unique. Now I am using some groovy code. So what does this particular thing do? So it authentication.getPrinciple.getRules, what it does is that it will actually validate the user who logged in. So in this case, it is super user, and it will get the roles of that user, and it will check whether any of the role belongs to these two. So if I log in with a user who has a demo employee, it will go inside this filter expression. Or similarly, if I have a role, if I'm logging in with a user who has this demo project manager as a role, again, it will be true. This condition will be validated as true, and it will append or execute this filter condition on this join tree 3. Okay, so now let's save this and see what it does. So it validates this particular rule. So um, every time if there is an error in the processing time itself, it should throw an error. So it's easy for us to analyze and understand if there is some expression which is wrong. So it might take yeah, save. So if I go and execute a report, so I have created a report called finance report. So first thing I'll do is like I'll log in as a HR user. So this user has a role called demo HR. So let's logging in. Login is this user, and let's execute that report, finance report. I should see all the information. So you can see that it has job levels and bank account details and all the information of all the employees, right? Now I will log out and logging in as an employee. So remember that we added a condition that if the login in user has a role called demo employee, we were putting a negation case there, right? One is equal to not one. So if I execute the same report, you don't see any data, right? So this is the magic. We were executing the exact same report, and it doesn't bring out any data here. So now I will log out and log in as a manager and see. Let's see what it does. I'm executing the exact same report, finance report. I shouldn't see any data. Yeah, it worked as expected, right? So if I go back to the slide, this is when we have tested the first row. So we actually applied the rule on join tree 3, which is the payroll information. Here I explicitly mentioned that the demo employee and demo project manager shouldn't have any access, but demo HR should have full access. So which works fine. Now let's go to the join tree 1. I'll go back to the domain and let's modify the security rule for the next domain. Okay, security domain for the next scenario. So if I go to the uh, data presentation layer of the domain, I'm interested in the geometry 1 because my use case is on geometry 1 where I should view where only employees and demo project manager should see the data. Again, it's for project manager, it's a filter data. For employee, it's his own employee ID, right? So let's go back to our domain designer and go to the security. So here I'm going to write my second rule. So for the sake of readability, I'm just putting some spaces here. I'm just copying the same. Okay, let's do it this way itself. So I'll copy the same exact block. I'll paste it here. I'll change this to rule 2. And this rule is for restricting the access of demo employee to view his own employee ID or his own information. So I'll label accordingly. And as you have rightly thought, we will have to change the resource ID. So what should we do here? We should go to the data presentation, identify the join tree where we are interested in, open the join tree here, get the ID, and use that on the security as the resource ID. So I'll modify this as join tree 1. Always make sure you change this access grant ID as well. So I'm changing the rule as employee access rule 1. Now, what should be the scenario? So ideally, what we needed to do is to check whether the logged in user has a role called demo employee. If yes, we should restrict him to see his own data, right? So for that, I'll just remove the project manager from this group, and we have to somehow fetch the employee ID, right? So we did so that the employee ID was added as a profile attribute. So if there is a way to fetch that particular information somehow, it should suffice, right? Or at least there is a way to handle that. So I will just modify this filter expression with this. So what does this do? So it is checking whether the logged in user has a role called demo employee, and if yes, we will append this particular logic. So let's go back to our expression on the data presentation layer. So we know that our data is inside demo employee basic info. So if I go here, I have this employee ID basic. Okay, so this is the join tree. I'll open this join tree. So you can see that I have this employee ID here, right? And if I go open this employee ID, if I go to the right hand side, I could see that this is the field which is referred by the EMP ID. So I could take this particular field, demo employee basic info dot EMP ID. I could put it here, right? And then I'm putting a Groovy expression to check the same thing. I'm checking the authentication.get principle. So I'm logging in. So in other words, I got the user and I'm getting the profile attributes of the logged in user. I'm checking whether there is a profile attribute called EMP ID. If yes, I will add that condition here. So effectively, what it does is like it appends a condition called demo employee basic info dot emp id in these attributes. So let's save this and let's go back to our use case. So now I'm logging in as EMP1 user, or probably let's go with EMP2. This particular employee has a ID of 2. So let's log in with that user. I'm executing employee basic details call. So now you can see I'm only getting one user, right? So if I log out and logging in as a manager and executing the exact same employee basic details, I'm seeing all the employees with who are based out of all the different countries, right? So so this way we could confirm that the role which we added in the domain is working as expected. So if I go ahead with a different employee, so here you can see the values are encrypted. I will just log in as this user, execute the very same report, and yeah, this is for John Doe, and I can see his only his information because I'm logging in as John Doe now. Okay, now let's go back and do some more fun. Let's go to this PPT. So you capture, I mean, we did the first step. So we modified and added a rule. I mean, we modified the domain and added a rule which confirms that only the employees can see their own data. Now we are going to do the second part where we are going to filter the manager and based on the country. Okay, so let's go back to our domain and edit it. Let's go to the security, do the exact same steps. The easy part is that you can just copy it and do it once again. So here again, we are going to do it on the join tree one because we are interested in this data island. Now let's go back and change the rule to rule 3 and label it properly. So here, this is for this rule. So this rule is for restricting the access to demo project manager to view only the employee information based on their current, I mean, assigned country code. Okay. So what should we do? Yeah, we could. So now I hope you guys are clear. So we can just change the role to demo project manager and let's add this filter condition. Okay. So this is a pretty different. So till now, I was using Groovy, right? This is a bit different expression. I thought that this is when I wanted to show this as well. So what this does is that there can be scenarios where your managers, for example, okay, I'll tell what it does. So as you know, if my manager is logging in, right, this particular expression will check and identify whether his role belongs to your demo project manager. Consider that as the if condition. Okay. So if the logged in user has a demo project manager assigned to him or her, then we are going to append this condition. So the condition is that demo employee dot basic info dot country code in the country code of the profile attribute of the manager. So I know that it is pretty complex. I'll go back to the, okay, so there is something wrong. Yeah, this is a good time to show that as well. So I try to save this, right? So it says that there are multiple occurrences of ID value EMP ID access rule 1. So this is what I was telling earlier. So uh, Jasper has an inbuilt mechanism to make sure that if there are any errors in the Excel, it will identify. So I'll just save this once again. I'll come back to this Excel after I show you the this particular managers. So here you can see that I have a demo manager 1 who is based out of USA. I have a manager 2 who has multiple country codes, right? So this manager is a manager for Canada and US. So you have to have some mechanism where you need to put, where we need to calculate two different attributes. So for those kind of scenarios, you could use this expression. So it will consider all those attributes. If there are multiple profile attributes, and if you wanted to put it as an in condition, you can use this plus profile attribute. Okay. So it is exactly the same. You can go back. I'll go back to the data presentation layer. What is my logic? My logic is that I should only view, or I should only allow those users who has demo project manager to view the data of the country. So there is a country code and a country. So if I open this, you can see this, the ID is country, and this is the actual attribute database field. It belongs, okay, so here in this case, I was taking country code. So it should be this country code. So I'm putting an where, consider that there is a query, select star from table A. This will be appended as a where condition at the end. So it says that where demo employee basic info dot country code in all the country codes of the user. Okay, now let's save this and go back and execute the ad hoc view. The very same report which I created initially, employee basic details. Okay, I was logging in as a super user. Let's log in as a demo manager 1. So this manager, sorry, only belongs to USA or country code 1001. So I expect to see all the employees who are based out of US now. You can see, I only see, I can see different users or employees, but for country code USA. And even the filter is fine-tuned like that. Now let's log in. Let's log in as demo manager 2. So this manager has is map. It has profile attribute for US and Canada. So let's execute the same ad hoc view. I expect to see US and Canada here. So yeah, you can see US and Canada. And also in the filters, I can only see US and Canada. I can even execute uh, here as well. Okay, great stuff. Let's go back to our PPT. So you can see that now we covered the second row as well. So yeah, now the user, when I logging in as a as a manager, my data is filtered based on the country code, right? Let's log out and login as the manager as well. Sorry, HR manager as well, and execute the same report, employee basic details. You can see everything. You can see even Canada, Australia, and you can USA. Okay, so we covered the second row as well. Now let's go back to our view. So I just wanted to show that this also works for view as well. Uh,
Hey, Prasad, I got a quick question.
sure.
Um, they said currently we have a custom query executor built by the Jaspersoft engineers to do this. So the JRXML reports and ad hoc view reports work to retrieve this table of restrictions on a row level. This custom query executor parses the query and rewrites it on the fly. Is there a better way to do this since upgrade for us has become challenging due to the fact? Any suggestions to improve this? So essentially, I guess they're wondering if there's a easier and simplistic way to do this with the domain security that you can think
Uh,
of.
can you come again with the question? I understand that they have customized the query executor for studio reports and for ad hoc views. So I hope the query probably, I don't know whether it is a custom data source or something which they are talking about, or so I think this particular security works for ad hoc views as well as ad hoc reports. So you could try it out in ad hoc reports and see. I hope this is particularly, you might have to do some customization to make it work on a, if you customize something, probably you have to do some level of customization to make it work. But I think it's a good idea to reach out to CS and discuss it further.
Yeah, I think that's a good
So,
idea. We just kind of need a little bit more details on what exactly your use cases might be.
yeah,
They
I hope
did.
we yeah,
Sorry, go
I
ahead,
hope
Prasad.
they have this particular Dr. Jaspersoft URL, right? An email ID, right? So probably you can just write it to us and we can just take a look at it, because I
Yes,
think
of course.
this led to some level of customization. Probably we have to go and look a bit more on that and see.
Thank you,
But
Prasad.
again, we
Appreciate it.
can, yeah, cool. Let's go back to this and see the view. Okay. Okay, repository, and I'll open the domain. Okay, let's copy this role. I'm just copying the entire stuff. So this is nothing but a rule for providing access to demo project manager information from DB views for specific country codes in profile attributes. It is exactly the same that we did here, but only difference is that instead of table, we are retrieving it from a view. I just wanted to show that even view works here. And one more, like I was discussing with a particular customer, and this customer had a unique scenario where they wanted to join the tables with a specific ID, for example, employee ID in this case, but they don't want it any of the users to see that employee ID in the front end, right? So we can actually achieve that with the help of column level security, but it's a tedious process. You have to write a lot of security rules. So we were checking to see if there is any better way to do this, and unfortunately there is. So I'll show you that in a minute. So I'll reiterate the issue once again. So I'll minimize these data islands for now. And you can see in my view, I'm just showing to the end user address, country, email, employee ID, name, and source. I'm not showing the country code here, right? So you can see that the country code is not part of the data presentation layer. I could actually add it, but if I add it, the end user will or the actual user will see the country code, which is not good, right? It's a country code. There is no need for the end user to see the codes and all, because they are probably interested more in the actual value. So we were seeing if there is a better way to do this, and fortunately there is. What we could do is that even though the country code is not part of the data presentation, level. In fact, it is part of the actual view, right? So you could in fact use this country code here, and it works. So I'll show that as well. So it is exactly the same rule, no difference. Only thing is, like, instead of join tree one, I'm using the view employee basic information, which is nothing but the view which I created from the database. So let's save this and go back to the repository. So I'm working, I log in as a manager. And here I created a new different report called employee view updated. So that's not there. So you could see that I don't see that view at all. I don't see that information at all here, right? And I don't have written any logic to restrict that as well in my code. So yeah, this is what I was discussing. Okay, let's go to the PPT back. So you can see that we have. So I'll just log in as a employee as well, and execute the very same report. Okay, you can see it. Let's go back to the domains, log out. I'll log in as a super user again. I'll go back to the repository, demo employee. Let's go to the security. Okay, so now we have this data. We have covered almost all the different scenarios for row level security. In your probably each customer has different scenarios. But I think on a more or less this should cover all your scenarios from a row level security perspective. Now we will go with column level security. So let's go back to our domain, and I'll just copy paste the entire set of data. Give me a minute. Okay, so this is the full screens. Okay. So till now we covered all the different scenarios for row level security. We will go ahead with the column level security. Okay. So let's remove this part for now. So for column level security, you can see it the default access is denied. So if you add a condition, uh, it it applies to all the different user groups. So if I'm specifying that for demo employee identification item group ID, so I'll go back to the data presentation there and see. I'll show you what it is. I'll minimize all these different join trees. So you can see that I have a demo employee identification table, and this is the table which I am blocking access to, demo employee identification. And the rule is that, or label I'm mentioning is that I deny access to all the identification information, right? So if I put it like this, and if I logging in with demo HR and employee, I should not see. Okay, so I'll go one by one. So this is the first rule. It says that all the default access is denied. Now I am explicitly telling Jasper that for these particular groups, I'm granting the access. So if I save this particular report or Excel, what I expect is that if I logging in as a demo HR, I should see the identification information in the join tree one ad hoc view. Similarly, if I logging in as a demo employee, I should still see the demo identification In other words, we should still see the identification type and value in the report. For all other user roles, for example, demo project manager or any other roles, we shouldn't see anything else, or that particular data shouldn't be there, right? So I'm just trying to save this domain now. It is saved. Now let's test the happy scenario first, where I will log in as a demo emp1 and execute the employee basic details, which is the first report which I created. You can see everything works. I can see all the identification type and identification value. Now let's log out and try to logging in as a demo manager one. And I execute the exact same report, employee basic details. Now the fun thing happens, right? Now we can see that the identification type and identification values are not visible to my manager. So the only way he can proceed is by removing the items, and he can see the rest of the information. Okay, the same things. And if I logging in with demo manager 2, execute the same reports, he won't be able to see any of those columns. He has to remove it, and the rest of the table remains same. Still, it is filtered using Canada and USA for project manager 2, and for project manager 1, it was just USA. Okay. And for HR, everything, we should see everything for HR. Maybe I can just test that as well. I will execute the same report, employee basic details. Yes, as expected, we can see all the details. Now, what if there is a scenario where my manager is expected to see as a mandatory policy, consider that there is a policy which says that all the employees has to load some kind of identification, and my manager has to verify whether there is an identification type um, present for this user, right? So in that scenario, he should see this identification type, but not the identification value. So how should we handle those kind of scenarios? So let's go back to our domain. So I will reiterate the scenario once again. So scenario is that my manager is expected to see or validate whether I have loaded a passport or driver's license as a compliance issue, or yeah, as a policy, but he shouldn't see the identification value. But now the problem is that if I log out and logging in once again, he doesn't know whether the data exists or not, right? Uh, it says that you have to remove those identification type and identification value from the report. So we are going to change that, and we are adding a partial identification role here. So in this scenario, we are telling that the employee should or the manager should see the identification type, but not the identification value. So I'll show that once again. So if I'll go as a demo manager 1, logging in as the user, employee basic details, you don't see any of these values, identification type and identification value. You only see the basic information. So let's go back and log out
Hey,
from this.
Prasant.
Yes.
We have another question for you.
Mm-hmm.
They asked, is it also possible to apply column level security directly on the join tree without using an item group?
Uh, let's go back. Let's see. So here what we are doing is that the default access is denied, and I'm putting the condition on the demo employee. So let's try that as well. So the scenario is that we need to see whether it is possible to put it on the join tree itself, right? So we'll try that right away. Right away. So let's change this demo employee identification to join tree 1, and let's save this. Okay. So it says it is not possible. So no, we can't do it.
Awesome. Thank you for
It's on
testing
the
that quickly.
notice. It should only be in the item. Okay, so let's go back to our scenarios. Okay, so we have to do is this. Because on a very high level, you are restricting the columns, right? So there is no scenario where, I mean, if you are restricting it on the join tree, ideally you will not see any data. It is as same as that of restricting it on the row level, ideally. So there is no point in actually putting, as far as I think there is no point in actually putting, or at least I don't think there are any scenarios where you really need to put it on the join tree, because you could actually do that on the row level security and fine tune it with column level security. Okay, let's go back and add this condition once again. So uh, access grant. So here I'm telling Jasper that if the user role is not demo HR or demo employee, if the role, if the user, I mean logged in user's role is demo HR or demo employee, he will see everything, right? But if it is project manager, initially I'm granting him the access to view that entire join tree, but then I'm restricting him to view that identification value. So it's straightforward. You can see here I'm granting the demo project manager to see everything initially, and then I am putting a access denied for that particular item ID, which is nothing. If I go to the identification, you can see the identification value field. So if I open this is the ID. So I'm using this ID here in this field. Now, if I save this, let's go back and execute the report with the same user who is the project manager. Earlier, I logged in as the demo manager, I was not able to see the identification value and identification type. Now it says that the following field or measures no longer exist in the data source. It only complains about identification value. If I proceed, I can see the identification type. So you could actually fine tune it in n different ways. So I think I covered almost all the scenarios.
We do have a
So
quick question for Sant.
cool.
For
Yes.
that last one, it said, did you remove all the columns in the reference group, or can this be fine tuned to some columns of that reference group too?
Yeah, at the moment I'm doing it on the column. And here, if you see, I'm just denying access to one particular column. So if I go back to the presentation level, I have three columns for this demo employee identification, EMP ID, identification type, and identification value. I applied only to this identification value. So initially, I provided access to all the three or all the fields in this particular domain employee identification, and then I restricted identification value in this line number 56. I hope I answered your question.
Awesome. Thank you, Prasant. Appreciate it.
Cool. I think we are at the end of the presentation. So I hope we have covered all the different scenarios. And if you have any doubts or questions, you can feel free to raise. You can send your question to our Dr. Jaspersoft email thread. I hope it is there in this slide, right, Paul?
Yes, I'll share the slide here if you don't mind if I take over real quick.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll stop sharing now.
All right, everyone. Here's our resources. We don't really have anything new too much for this presentation. And as always, please engage with us. Feel free to message us on the forums. Feel free to log a case if you're a customer. You can always email me. Feel free to reach out. And thank you again for joining our April session. We do appreciate it. If anything, please let us know. And everyone, take care and have a good day.
Thank you.